at the end of those 3 weeks, an ambulance was provided for me to go back to Birmingham, to my hometown, and then I had follow-up rehabilitation in Birmingham from physiotherapy. So, you know, that is tremendous. No worry about cost. If I'd had social care needs, I could have had services to come in and help me get up and go to bed, help with food and so on. So quite a comprehensive system. But for the hip that I have now, which will need surgery, I may have to wait 2 or 3 years on a waiting list before I get the surgery. So that's the contrast. Our hospital beds are usually very full. 98% occupancy is quite common. We have difficulty with discharging people from hospital who have multiple social care problems and who are dependent, because that has to be the link between the hospital service and the local social service. And that can lead, I remember one young patient in his early 50s who'd been in hospital a year while we were trying to find somewhere where they could go. So social networks are more stretched. Family units are often very widespread. So if we look at my own family, we have one in Dominican Republic, we have 2 in London, we have 1 in Coventry, we have 1 daughter in Birmingham. So the family units living together no longer exist in urban Britain. So many people live alone. If you look at older people over 65, something like 60% live alone. So this of course places great strain on them if they have long-term illness like stroke or Parkinson's or arthritis or any of the conditions that reduce independence. Funding of the health service, which is now something like £110 billion, is clearly a major strain on the exchequer, and in our present economic crisis, all countries are looking for ways of reducing their health costs, and we're no different. And there are big questions about what is it that the health service should supply and not supply, and those are ongoing discussions at the moment. So again, taking older people and disabled people, is do they really need to come into hospital? Hospital care is by far the most expensive part of the care system, although if you look at older figures for long-term care, people who require to stay in the care system until they die, on average cost the equivalent of 4 liver transplants. So they're very difficult political decisions that have to be taken by all countries as to where funding will be applied. There is a big discussion at the moment as to whether we can reduce the funding of hospitals and put more money into the community to prevent emergency admission. In Britain, and I think it's true in a lot of Western economies, emergency admissions through casualty, through accident and emergency, have gone up very, very fast in the last 5 to 10 years. People not totally sure why. Once people are at a hospital, it gets more difficult to send them back home. And so there are serious rises in costs well above inflation at that end. Also, intensive care units have become more popular. The new hospital, University and Hospital, has 100 intensive care beds behind the admission door, and those take neurology, stroke, and serious injury, as well as other particular illnesses. Separately from that, maybe one should mention that the children's service is separate from the adult service, and we have in most cities large children's hospitals who deal with people up to the age of 16. So there is a problem in the English service for people sort of 16 to 20, especially if they've had childhood illnesses. That can be very specialised because they can be hereditary as to how they get looked after as they become adult. We have separate obstetric and gynecological services, which when I started were in my main hospital, but in Birmingham I'm in a separate women's hospital. But I don't know how widespread that separation is across the country, although when I trained in London the women's hospital was quite separate from the ordinary hospital. And we have a number of specialist hospitals. So very close to where I live is a specialist orthopaedic hospital that does elective surgery, not emergency surgery, for bones and joints and such like, and especially bone cancers, and has a countrywide reputation. We also in Birmingham have the specialist service within the main university hospital for all military personnel from the United Kingdom and personnel injured in war zones which the United Kingdom are in. So we do get people from the Afghanistan army, for instance, coming in for treatment, and they all get treated in special stations near the fighting and then get flown into Birmingham and then brought in to the unit there, where we've got specialists and special facilities for the military. In terms of the cost of individual diagnostic groups, at the moment, although we do have diagnosis-related